Wargaming has pushed many World of Tanks players, including me, to the brink. The new Raumfalte loot boxes have crossed a clearly defined boundary. The whole event feels like a last-ditch money grab. Loot boxes inside loot boxes inside loot boxes. It is straight up casino, signaling the game's decline. There's been no real free content or meaningful updates, no new maps in over 2 years. No fix for the gun barrel bug after 6 months or any communication about it. No new personal mission campaigns and a full year with no top of the tree. Tier 8 is flooded with OP premium tanks, matchmaking is terrible, and despite all of this, we've had 5 loot box events in 2025 alone. And every strong vehicle that gets released into the game are locked behind paywalls. The FE215-1A3 is in the pawn shop, and Wargaming is selling the Waffle E100 for 100,000, I repeat, 100,000 gold. It's just absurd. The brand new DBV is a completely broken Grille that has been ruining the game balance for months, and the new can opener line with an impenetrable tier 10 heavy after nerfing the Super Conqueror is not helping either. Yes, they reworked 2 maps, though one is terrible. There's a PvE event that some might enjoy, others think of it as a better way to go to sleep than a tranquilizer shot, and the assembly shop bringing back all tanks could be seen as a positive too. But overall, this year feels like we are getting a fire sale that crosses certain boundaries that we thought would never be crossed. Like selling tier 10 tanks in loot boxes, one of them being the Chieftain, a tank that has been in the game for many years, and the community was very excited to have this tank finally at their disposal. Maybe as a personal mission tank, maybe as a campaign reward, or something else that could be obtainable by the majority for free. And then these tanks costing up to $1,500 if you're unlucky enough. It's outrageous. Multi-tier loot boxes like the Raumfalte ones in World of Tanks are terrible for both the game and the community for several reasons. Excessive monetization is a problem in the face of not adding enough viral, free-to-play content. When loot boxes within loot boxes means that players are gambling 3 times for a reward, massively reducing transparency and increasing the odds of getting junk. And it preys on impulsive spending and FOMO, which is predatory, especially for younger or vulnerable players. And this system feels more like a casino than a game. There is also a massive breakdown of trust between the player base and Wargaming, as players start feeling like ATMs instead of valued community members. And when desirable tanks like the mbt-b or the Chieftain are exclusively locked behind multi-layered RNG, it destroys the belief that effort and skill matter, money talks louder than gameplay. And these powerful and meta vehicles locked behind paywalls lead to a sense of unfairness, because players who just will not spend that much money will not gain access to these tanks at all. And the FOMO is huge here, and players who cannot afford to gamble miss out on performance advantages, worsening the competitive balance even more. And this can also turn into a bigger shit show, where if every major event revolves around RNG loot, it erodes motivation, and people want to feel rewarded for the time and skill they put into the game and not punished for not necessarily spending on their hobbies all the time. And multi-tier loot boxes make rewards feel distant and arbitrary and not satisfying at all, which is terrible for the community. Not to mention that this signals desperation from the developers, and this kind of monetization screams cash grab before the end kind of vibes, making the game feel unstable or like it's in a complete decline. And it gives off the vibe that Wargaming is trying to squeeze out as much profit as possible instead of fixing the core gameplay issues. For example, the gun barrel bug, or map drought, or gameplay balance, and all those things that I've already mentioned in my previous video. And we're not even getting any communication about this. Their channels are completely shut, there's no roadmap videos, there's no official communique about any of this. You have to like go fishing on the World of Tanks official stream to know some good information about what's coming and what is going on behind the scenes. And this whole system is just terrible, it's unfeasible, you cannot keep this up. The rift between the player base and Wargaming is extremely huge right now, and this has to be somehow solved. And all these exclusive tanks being locked behind loot boxes just widens this gap between whales and regular players that don't get lucky and that don't want to spend hundreds upon hundreds of euros just cannot get the tank, and this causes extreme frustration. Players simply cannot justify spending hundreds of dollars to unlock a single tank that is buried deep behind layers of RNG and paywalls. And when a vehicle like this is locked behind multi-tiered loot boxes, the cost of it becomes unpredictable, frustrating, and outrageous. And this turns this whole experience, that what should be a game of skill and progression, into a complete wallet war. And it's not just about money, it's also about principle. No one wants to feel forced to gamble just to stay competitive or enjoy new content. For many, including myself, it's a tipping point. A clear sign that the game prioritizes profit over player experience. And you know, this would not be a problem, but in the face of all the other problems that I've already mentioned in this video in the beginning and also in my other videos about the game, it just all mounts up and it ends up being a mountain. And this bigger picture just becomes outrageous and fairly triggering. In the end, this kind of monetization pushes loyal players away and also damages the health of the game and its community. Let's talk a little bit about why content creators are getting heat for showcasing loot box tanks. Content creators, streamers, YouTubers, and the CCs are caught in the crossfire because of how Wargaming structures a loot box system and how these tanks are revealed to the public. The core issue is, when a new loot box event drops, especially one like the Raumfalte with multi-tier loot boxes, the only way the community gets a first look at these tanks, like the mbt-b or like the Chieftain or the Vercingetorix, is through content creators. But here's the catch. These tanks are all locked behind multi-tier loot boxes. They're not grindable, and some of them are pretty much overpowered, like the mbt-b. I'm gonna show you a couple of clips here. I don't want to make a video about this tank, but look at these couple of clips. Just tell me how you feel about this tank being hidden behind potentially $50-100 of loot boxes. Himmelsdorf, tier 8 again. Bro, they're gonna YOLO the 8 line. Go for that then. Alright, you ready for this, chat? No, don't push. Didn't even take anything in return. Guess what? I'm already reloaded in a second. I go kill the E-Honda, man. Look at this. By the time he arrives, I'll be reloaded, man. And he's about to die in 3, 2... 6k damage, like that. And look, 50 top speed, because that's balanced, right? Don't go for the renegade. $7.8k damage in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Maybe I was right, guys, you know? You remember when I told you that Wargaming is trying to pull the plug? Look at this tank, buddy. Look, I have 2 more shots left, man. I just have to climb up here. Don't run, mate. Ah, yes, 2.3k damage, or the can opener. Come to Papa. 4.4k damage. This tank is pay to win. This is as pay to win as the BZ, man. Oh, shame he died. Look at this. Oh. Oh, shit, only. Even though I missed 2, I still did 1.6. Where's the shard, dude? This is disgusting. 9.3k damage. I didn't do anything. And content creators are given early access or review accounts with these tanks, which is also Wargaming's push to build hype. And when we showcase these tanks, when we say that they are strong or weak or fun, it doesn't matter. To casual viewers, it looks like we are promoting gambling and encouraging purchases. And even if creators are just reviewing this vehicle, viewers often interpret it as shilling for Wargaming or endorsing monetization, even though we do not support this, but we do not have other options to create viral content. And this is what you have to understand as a viewer, that Wargaming is locking all these tanks behind a massive paywall, and that sucks for all of us. But we also have to provide some kind of viral content somehow, and this is the biggest problem. And then there's a huge backlash from this. Viewers flood our comment sections with anger. Why are you promoting this pay to win? You're part of the problem. Unsubbed, you're defending Wargaming. And creators feel stuck. This is horrible. Getting caught in this crossfire just sucks. And it's not the creators' fault that these tanks exist behind a massive paywall. It's a deliberate Wargaming strategy. They hide the best tanks behind a massive paywall, and they let the creators absorb the community's backlash, while the company rakes in profits quietly. This is terrible. And we are being used as marketing tools to generate buzz for the tanks that 99% of the player base can't even afford, because they just don't want to spend any money on this. And we are put in a no-win situation, where we are damned if we show the content, and we are ignored if we don't. Now, there are some additional serious problems with the multi-tier loot box system. First of all, it is built intentionally with a confusing structure, where the system is designed to be deliberately convoluted. You don't just buy a box and get a reward. You buy a box to get another box, which might give you another box. And this keeps players in a loop, making it harder to track how much they're actually spending. And by obscuring the cost and progress, players are more likely to overspend without realizing it. It's all a psychological trick, straight out of gambling and mobile gacha games. It also creates artificial scarcity and time pressure. These events are a limited time, and the tanks inside them are exclusive, which triggers FOMO, which is fear of missing out, which we have talked about massively on this channel already in the previous videos I made, and it all puts pressure on the player to spend before the offer disappears forever. And it all reinforces the belief that this might be your only chance to get this rare tank, which is just manufactured urgency, designed to override logical thinking and push impulsive purchases. It also completely destroys the concept of progression. World of Tanks used to be about grinding lines, about grinding tech trees, grinding tanks, improving your skills and unlocking tanks through play. Multi-tier loot boxes bypass all of that. There's no reward for effort, you can't grind these tanks, you cannot earn them. Only money and luck gets you through this door. It breaks the gameplay loop and replaces it with casino-style monetization. Not to mention that traditional events in World of Tanks give players control to pick which missions to complete. They also give you a chance to choose between the tank lines you wanna grind and decide on when and what to grind. With this system, it's all random and passive. You don't decide what you get, you can't choose your reward path, and you're just clicking buy and hoping for the best. This all leads down a road of frustration, burnout and also resentment. And while Wargaming discloses the drop rates, many players go in blind and end up spending far more than anticipated. Now let's talk a little bit about why is Wargaming doing this. Despite knowing this system is deeply unpopular, Wargaming continues to push it, and here's why. It's got to do with massive short-term revenue. Multi-tier loot boxes generate huge spikes in revenue during this event. Even if most players don't spend, a small percentages of whales pay hundreds upon thousands of dollars to unlock their much desired tanks. And these events can fund entire quarters of development or at least cover budget gaps. But what is Wargaming spending all this money on? You might ask. Well, we don't know. But what Wargaming knows is that the game is aging. World of Tanks is over a decade old. The player counts are slowly declining and content production has obviously slowed down. Wargaming might view this as the monetization endgame. Squeeze as much as possible from the remaining player base before interest completely drops off. In other words, maximize short-term profit over long-term sustainability. Now, I have said that they are borrowing tactics from mobile games and gacha systems because these systems are scientifically engineered to exploit human psychology. Randomness, dopamine loops, and sunk cost fallacy are powerful motivators, and even players who say, I'm just gonna buy a couple of boxes, often spiral into overspending. World of Tanks doesn't have a true direct competitor in its genre, so Wargaming may feel comfortable pushing the limits even more. They might be thinking that players who quit might come back, and there's no clear alternative offering the same kind of gameplay. Without pressure from other studios, there's less incentive to change or innovate. These loot boxes aren't just bad, they are a warning sign. When a game moves away from skill, choice and transparency and leans heavily into monetization tricks, it's not about building a better game, it's about milking what's left. And if the players don't push back, this model could become the new norm. Not just in World of Tanks, but across the whole industry. Many of the tanks behind the Raumfalte style loot boxes like the mbt-b, the Vercingetorix or the Chieftain are not only powerful, but they're extremely unique, creative and desirable, and that's what makes this thing even more. These vehicles could have been fantastic player engagement tools instead of short-term cash grabs. And here's a couple better, community-friendly ways Wargaming could have used to introduce these tanks. They could have thought about personal missions 3.0. Just like the Object 260 or the 279, new and exciting things could be rewards for completing long-term, skill-based objectives. Tasks like spot 100,000 damage over 30 days or block X amount of damage in heavies give purpose to gameplay. It rewards dedication and time instead of raw money. You get a sense of achievement and not buyer's remorse. Wargaming added the commendation system into the game, where you can give commendation to allies based on their performance in the game. But there's no rewards or incentive to even use this feature. Why is that? These tanks could have also been used to make unique assembly shops where components could be used to craft tanks by collecting resources from regular gameplay. Let players earn components through missions in randoms and onslaught. Make it transparent. 100 parts equals 1 tank. No RNG. That way, even free-to-play players have a clear, achievable goal. They could have also used these tanks to incentivize high-level gameplay, such as clan wars, onslaught, or even other competitive mode rewards that have not been implemented yet. This would promote team-based engagement and long-term involvement, and adds prestige without exploiting wallets. And instead of, here's an awesome, never-before-seen tank, pay $200 and maybe you'll get it. It could be, here's an awesome, never-before-seen tank, complete this epic multi-week mission and prove you earned it. This current model that Wargaming is going for basically means short-term profit over long-term damage. And locking these cool original tanks behind loot boxes demotivates casual and core players, removes any sense of progression or purpose, and reinforces a pay-to-win mindset over actual gameplay. These tanks had the potential to build excitement, loyalty and activity in the community, and instead they've been turned into gambling bait, A short-sighted move that hurts both the players and the future of the game and its creators. Now, as to why I think these loot boxes are evil, let's not sugarcoat it. These multi-tier loot boxes are not just bad, not just greedy. They're designed to exploit the player. It's loot boxes inside loot boxes, layers of RNG, no guarantees, no control. You're not rewarded for skill or time, just how much money you're willing to burn. This system weaponizes psychology, dopamine loops, FOMO, artificial scarcity, all the same tactics casinos use. It's not a game anymore, it's a trap. And it's not just about money, it's about respect. You can spend hundreds of dollars and still walk away with nothing you wanted, while having a minimal pity system and very low gold compensation. Just better luck next time. These loot boxes take exciting tanks, ones that could have been great mission rewards, or unlockable beasts, and lock them behind a paywall of pain. You don't earn them, you gamble for them. And you know what's even worse? It divides the community. Whales get the shiny toys, everybody else, well, left behind, bitter and burnt out. Free-to-play or low-spending players are sad, forums turn toxic, streams turn bitter, and instead of uniting players with goals and gameplay, loot boxes divide them with jealousy, resentment and anger. It's a system that thrives on inequality, and it poisons the entire community culture. And on top of that, us content creators are holding the front line and taking the community's backlash. The bottom line is, this isn't about building a better game, it's about squeezing every last cent before the wheels fall off. And loot boxes like this aren't just unfair, they're a betrayal of everything a good game should stand for, and they turn a once proud game into a digital casino with tanks. Now as to the future of World of Tanks and why it looks bleak. Let's be real, if Wargaming keeps going down this lootbox heavy path, the future of the game is looking grim and the product is heading into dangerous territory. For years, this game was built on a simple idea: play well, grind hard, get rewarded. You learn the maps, master the tactics, and push through the tech trees with real progress. That effort meant something. Now, it feels like none of that matters anymore. What matters now is your wallet. The ramped up introduction of loot boxes was already controversial, but the Raumfalte system has taken it to a whole new level. Loot boxes inside loot boxes. RNG stacked on RNG. It's like they're actively trying to hide the finish line behind the fog of RNG, and here's the absolute kicker. The tanks hidden in these boxes, they're not just cosmetic. Some are powerful, unique, or meta-defining. And we're not talking about skins here, we're talking about vehicles that can dominate matches and alter the balance of gameplay. So what does this do? It shatters the competitive integrity of the game. It tells the player base, you wanna win? Well, you better pay up. And when money becomes the deciding factor, it kills the spirit of the game. Now let's talk community. World of Tanks used to have one of the most passionate player bases in online gaming. Veterans with hundreds of thousands of battles under their belt, casuals learning the ropes, clans building deep alliances on the global map, and now? The mood is sour, comment sections are toxic, and discords are filled with backlash. The division between whales and regular players is growing, and whales get the new toys, while everyone else just gets frustration. And let's be honest, this loot box model is not sustainable. It's a short-term money grab, not a long-term strategy. You can only squeeze a community so hard before it completely breaks. And once you burn through the trust of your players, you cannot buy it back. This game hasn't had a new map in over 2 years. Top of the tree is gone, the gun barrel bug goes unfixed for 6 months without them communicating why. And meanwhile, we are on our 5th lootbox event of the year, and it's only May. That is not live service, that is live support. What we are seeing isn't just monetization, it's desperation. It feels like Wargaming is trying to squeeze out as much money as they can while they still can, and that screams one thing to the players: the end is coming. And you know what's most tragic? It didn't have to be this way. These new tanks, the Chieftain, the mbt-b, they could have been rewards for personal missions, progression goals, or creative challenges that actually rewarded gameplay. They could have brought the community together, sparked excitement, and revived interest for the game in players who have already left a long time ago. Instead, they're being used as bait, dangled behind the curtain of gambling, hidden in a pile of loot boxes that most players will never see through. And Wargaming knows exactly what they're doing. They're not confused, this is calculated. The players are demoralized, the creators are exhausted, and the game itself, well, unrecognizable, even though it still has so much potential for new content. And where does this all lead? Well, if nothing changes, if this trend continues as it did, World of Tanks won't go out with a bang. It will just slowly wither away, players will leave quietly, and interest will completely fade. And one day, the game that once ruled the free-to-play world will just be a memory of what could have been.